Reading The Unknown Reality by Jane Roberts, a Seth book, Volume 2. We are on session 720. Okay, so Seth states, now, if you take a physical camera with you today and snap pictures as you go about your chores, walk, or talk with friends, then you will have preserved scenes from the day's activities. Your film, however, will only take pictures today of today. No yesterday or tomorrow will suddenly appear in the snapshots of the present. The photographer in the dream world, though, will find an entirely different situation. For the consciousness can capture scenes from entirely different times as easily as the waking photographer can take pictures of different places. Unless you realize this, some of your quote dream albums end quote will make no sense to you. In waking life, you experience certain events as real. And generally, these are the only ones that can be captured by an ordinary photographer. The dream world, however, presents a much larger category of events. Many events will later appear as physical ones, while others, just as valid, will not. The dream camera, therefore, will capture probable events also. When you awaken with a dream photograph in mind, it may appear meaningless because it does not seem to correlate with the official order of activities you recognize. You may make one particular decision in physical and waking consciousness, and that decision may bring forth certain events. Using your dream camera, you can, with practice, discover the history of your own psyche and find the many probable decisions experienced in dreams. These serve as a basis from which you made your physical decision. There is some finesse required as you learn to interpret the individual pictures within your dream album. This should be easy to grasp, for if you tried to understand physical life having only a group of snapshots taken at different places and in different times, then it would be rather difficult to form a clear idea of the nature of the physical world. The same applies to dream reality, for the dreams that you recall are indeed like quick pictures snapped under varying conditions. No one picture alone tells the entire story. You should write down your description of each dream picture, therefore, and keep a continuing record, for each one provides more knowledge about the nature of your own psyche and the unknown reality in which it has its existence. When you take a physical photograph, you have to know how your camera works. You must learn how to focus, how to emphasize those particular qualities you want to record, and how to cut out distracting influences. You know the difference between shadows, for example, and solid objects. Sometimes shadows themselves make fascinating photographic studies. You might utilize them in the background, but as a photographer, you would not confuse the shadows with, say, the solid objects. No one would deny that shadows are real, however. Now, using an analogy only, let me explain that your thoughts and feelings also give off shadows that we will here call hallucinations. They are quite valid. They have as strong a part to play in dream reality as shadows do in the physical world. They are beautiful in themselves. They add to the entire picture. A shadow of a tree cools the ground. It affects the environment. So hallucinations alter the environment, but in a different way and at another level of reality. In the dream world, hallucinations are like conscious shadows. They are not passive, nor is their shape dependent upon their origin. They have their own abilities. Physically, an oak tree may cast a rich, deep shadow upon the ground. It will move, faithfully mirroring the tiniest motion of the smallest leaf, but its freedom to move will be dictated by the motion of the oak. Not one oak leaf shadow will move unless its counterpart does. Following our analogy, in the dream world, the shadow of the oak tree, once cast, would then be free to pursue its own direction. Not only that, but there would be a creative give and take between it and the tree that gave it birth. Anyone fully accustomed to inner reality would have no difficulty in telling the dream oak tree from its frisky shadow, however, any more than a waking photographer would have trouble distinguishing the physical oak tree from its counterpart upon the grass. When you, a dream tourist, wander about the inner landscape with your mental camera, however, it may take a while before you are able to tell the difference between dream events and their shadows or hallucinations. So you may take pictures of the shadows instead of the trees and end up with a fine composition indeed, but one that would give you somewhat of a distorted version of inner reality. So you must learn how to aim and focus your dream camera. In your daily world, objects have shadows and thoughts or feelings do not. So in your dream travels, simply remember that their quote-unquote objects do not possess shadows, but thoughts and feelings do. Since these are far more lively than ordinary shadows and are definitely more colorful, they may be more difficult to distinguish at first. You must first remember that you are wandering through a mental or psychic landscape. You can stand before the shadow of a friend in the afternoon in waking reality and snap your fingers all you want to, but your friend's shadow will not move one whit. It will certainly not disappear because you tell it to. In the dream world, however, any hallucinations will vanish immediately as soon as you recognize it as such and tell it to go away. It was cast originally by your own thought or feeling, and when you withdraw that source, then its quote-unquote shadow is automatically gone. A stone's physical shadow will faithfully mirror its form. In those terms, little creativity is allowed it. Far greater leeway exists, however, as a thought or feeling in the dream world casts its greater shadow out upon the landscape of the mind. Moods obviously exist when you are dreaming as well as when you are waking. Physically, the day may be brilliant, but if you are in a blue mood, you may automatically close yourself off from the day's natural light, not noticing it, or even use that natural beauty as counterpoint that only makes you feel more disconsolate. Then you might look outward at the day through your mood and see its beauty as a meaningless or even cruel facade. Your mood, therefore, will alter your perception. So the same applies in the dream state. But there, the shadows of your thoughts may be projected outward into scenes of darkest desolation. In the physical world, you have mass sense data about you. Each individual helps form that exterior environment. No matter how dark your mood on any given sunny day, your individual thoughts alone will not suddenly turn the blue skies into rainy ones. You alone do not have that kind of control over your fellow's environment. In the dream world, however, such thoughts will definitely form your environment. Stormy dream landscapes are, on the one hand, hallucinations cast upon the inner world by your thoughts or feelings. On the other hand, they are valid representations of your inner climate at the time of any given dream. Such scenes can be changed in the dream state itself if you recognize their origin. You might choose instead to learn from such hallucinations by allowing them to continue, while realizing that they are indeed shadows cast by your own mind. Now, if you are honest with your thoughts and feelings, then you will express them in your waking life, and they will not cast disturbing shadows in your dreams. You may be afraid that a beloved child or mate will die suddenly, yet you may never want to admit such a fear. The feeling itself may be generated because of your own doubts about yourself, however. You may be depending upon another such person too strongly, trying to live your own life second-handedly through the life of another. Your own fear admitted would lead you to other feelings behind it and to a greater understanding of yourself. Unencountered in waking life, however, the fear might cast its dim shadow so that you dream of your child's death or of the death of another close to you. The dream experience would be cast into the dream landscape and encountered there. If you remembered such a dream, therefore, you might think that it was precognitive and that the event would become physical. Instead, the whole point of the dream event would be an educational one, bringing your fear into clear focus. In such cases, you should think of the dire dream situation as a shadow and look for its source within your mind. Shadows can be pleasant and luxurious, and on a hot sunny day, you are certainly aware of their beneficial nature. So some dream hallucinations are beautiful, comforting, refreshing. They can bring great peace and be sought after for themselves. You may believe that God exists as a kindly Father, or you might personify him as Christ or Buddha. In your dreams, you might then encounter such personages. They are quite valid, but they are also hallucinations cast by your own thoughts and feelings. Dreams of heaven and hell alike fall into the same category in those terms as hallucinations. Now, the physical shadow of a tree bears witness to the existence of a tree, even if you see only the shadow. So, your hallucinations appearing in dreams also bear witness to their origin and give testimony to a valid quote-unquote objective dream object that is as quote-unquote solid in that reality as the tree is in your world. In physical reality, there is a time lag that exists between the conception of an idea, say, and its materialization. Beside that, other conditions operate that can slow down an idea's physical actualization or even impede it altogether. If not physically expressed, the thought will actualize in another reality. An idea must have certain characteristics, for example, that agree with physical assumptions before it turns into a recognizable event. It must appear within your time context. In the dream world, however, each feeling or idea can be immediately expressed and experienced. The physical world has buildings in it that you manufacture. That is, they do not spring up naturally from the ground itself. In the same way, your thoughts are, quote, manufactured products, end quote. Your thoughts are manufactured products in the dream world. They are a part of the environment and appear within its reality, though they change shape and form constantly, as physically manufactured objects do not. The Earth has its own natural given data, however, and you must use this body of material to form all of your manufactured products. The dream world also possesses its own natural environment. You form your dreams from it and use its natural products to manufacture dream images. Few view this natural inner environment, however. Alright, so that is technically the end of dictation, but speaking as Seth, it's stated here that Jane delivered 2 pages of material for herself and for Rob. So Jane had picked up some information prior to this session. It stated that at the beginning of the session that I didn't read, but so it states here, embedded within it, within the delivery after dictation, were these lines by Seth, quote, Rupert's idea did come from me about your reincarnational episodes involving the Roman officer. He's talking to Rob and his experience that he's seen with the Roman officers, if you guys were reading that, because I didn't read it. It goes on and says, and your personal experience illustrates what I am saying in unknown reality. The individual's history is written in the psyche and can indeed be uncovered, end quote by Seth. Rob also states that twice today Jane had tuned into very similar concepts while going about her daily business. Quote, I'm sure I got that from Seth, end quote, she had told Rob after the first such instance had taken place this afternoon. And quote, not only about your reincarnational stuff, but your thing as an old man. And the history of the species is written in the mass psyche in just the same way, end quote. So more on the Roman officers. This is Rob seeing like past lives as Roman officers, 3 different Roman officers, okay? And Rob writes, my quote 3 Romans, end quote, are presented in the first notes for sessions 7:15 to 16, which I didn't read again, but the information is available for you guys to read. So let me continue. I'm quite concerned by some of the questions these experiences have raised, especially the possible time contradictions with some of my other supposed past lives. I plan to soon explain these rather cryptic references. In the meantime, my little psychic adventures continue to flow. I regret that I seldom seem to find the physical time for more than very quick sketches relative to any of them. So, if my memory serves, yeah, Rob is going to go into this a little bit more, and I probably will read it because it does start to get pretty interesting, and Seth will explain. So, session notes, note number 1 in reference to the dream world. Rob is saying the reader can also refer to Seth's material on dreams in chapter 8 and 10 in Seth Speaks, and chapter 10 and 20 in Personal Reality. And note number 2 on hallucinations, Rob states Seth's creative use of quote-unquote hallucinations here is certainly at variance with the concepts ordinarily associated with the word. In a dictionary, for instance, hallucinations may be described as sights and sounds apparently perceived. Hallucinations are tied in with some mental disorders, with objects not actually present. Logically enough, then, in the dictionary, one of the synonyms for hallucinations will be a word like quote-unquote delusion, a belief not true, a persistent opinion without corresponding physical evidence. In case any of you did not know what hallucination definition was there. Anyway, that's the end of session notes. And so you all know session 721, which will be the next video, states right here, it will be about the dream world as the mirror of the psyche, waking while dreaming, and it will have practice elements 15 and 16. So definitely check back for the next video. And real quick, I just want to thank everybody who comments, gives me support, subscribes. The love is amazing, and I just want you all to know that I really do love you all. I know it's kind of weird, like, how can I love you? But I do. I love you. I know we all have our quirks and weird things, and I don't really know you guys, but I feel like I do, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I just appreciate you all, and I thank you. I thank you all for comments and support, and keep them coming for sure. So thanks for watching. Peace, love, harmony, equanimity, and spiritual evolution to everyone.